Businesses in Nigeria face a major challenge due to frequent fluctuations in the exchange rate used for cargo clearance. Similarly, the CBN issued a total of 28 different exchange rates for import duties in the first quarter of 2024, while January saw a single stable rate. Businesses navigated a staggering 15 different exchange rates in February and 13 in March. This instability makes it difficult for investors to plan and manage risk, ultimately hurting economic growth. Well, joining me for more on this is Muda Yusuf, the CEO, Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise. Thank you so much for joining me today, Doctor.
Thank you very much for having me. My pleasure.
All right. So we've seen the federal government, adjusting import duties every other day. What do you make of this?
Well, it's a major problem for businesses across all sectors. Because one thing that businesses worry about, one of the biggest in the worry about is uncertainty. It's bad enough that we have challenges with the foreign exchange market itself, the volatility and all of that, which the CBN has been trying to manage, and we appreciate what the CBN has been doing so far. But on the trade side, we are now having even much bigger challenge of volatility. Because when you have a situation where the cost of cargo clearance is fluctuating almost on a daily basis, it's very, very bad for business. And this is something that affects manufacturers. It affects those who are in the service sector. It affects those who are in the agricultural sector. It affects those in aviation. Name the sector. Every sector has one form of import component or the other. And you must be able to plan when you are in business. So the biggest challenge with this volatility in the customs duty exchange rate is that it's making it difficult for businesses to plan. In the first quarter of this year, we had changes 28 times. I mean, that is very difficult to cope with by any business. How do you even price your product? How do you make quotations for if you are a supplier to a particular company and all? How do you give quotations?
All right. I wanted to be sure you were ready. Can you hear me? Dr. Muda, can you confirm if you can hear me?
For investors.
All right, go ahead. I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, it's a very big issue for investors, and we hope that something will be done to stabilize it. Because investors cannot plan, they can't properly give quotations to their clients, they can't do so many things. But there are two major issues here.
Okay.
There's the issue of the volatility about the frequency of the changes. There's also the issue of the cost. Now we are in an environment where the government itself is also worried about inflation, about bringing down the cost of living, the cost of doing business, the cost of production. We already accept that we are reforming the foreign exchange market. We have no problems with that. But if as a result of the exchange rate depreciation, costs are going up, one of the ways in which we can bring down costs is through the trade policy environment, through ensuring that the cost of cargo clearance is even much lower.
But when you say, bringing down the cost of cargo, I'm worried here. Isn't that also sort of supporting multiple exchange
than what
rates?
It used to be? But we are faced with a situation now where the exchange rate is depreciating, import duty or the cost of clearing cargo is also going up simultaneously. So it's very suffocating for investors. So that is why we feel that we need to bring some stability to that space. The CBN should come up with a framework in conjunction with the fiscal authorities to come up with a framework to ensure that we have stability in the custom duty exchange rate. Because we need to make a distinction.
But I like what you just said now. If you can hear me, I just want to say that you
Exchange rate
remember
for
that the
customs
CBN
duty
actually issued a
anti-market. We are talking
circular.
about.
So if you can hear me, I was saying that the CBN issued a circular saying that the closing forex rate on the day Form M is opened will be the applicable rate for import duty assessment. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this one. Do you think this is a good one? And do you think it can also sort of handle the volatility, or it also adds to the volatility? Because on the one hand, we have the real exchange rate out there. We also have the rate for import duties, which also is changing. And then we have this one which says that, you know, the rate for the day the Form M was opened is the one that should be used. What do you make of all of these?
No, the decision of the CBN that states that the rate on the Form M is the one that should be used has also been difficult to implement, because you have people who have Form M that they have opened for close to a year, where the exchange rate is probably maybe 500 or 600. You know, we have people who have different kind of Form M's that they have collected. So for the customs, it poses a major problem of implementation. Secondly, the customs technology or software is not configured to be changing from one Form M to another Form M. Once they are processing, they process for a given period at a uniform exchange rate. That is how their system is configured. So there's a compatibility problem between the policy and the technology, the ICT technology or software that the customs is also using. So there's a need for proper collaboration.
All right. You know, based on what you just said, now my thought actually is that, I mean, if there is some level of maybe consultation, maybe the government would have been better advised to know that the technology they are using does not even support all of this, and probably wait until such technology is put in place. Or another thing would be maybe, just maybe, this particular circular or this particular guideline should have waited to be activated at another time when all of these have been fixed. What are your thoughts?
Actually, if there had been a robust level of consultation, the best thing would have been to just fix a rate that we can now review quarterly.
Okay.
That is the best approach in this situation. The monetary authorities will engage with fiscal authorities and possibly even engage the stakeholders and say, okay, what is the best way forward? And a solution will emerge. But in my view, and this is the view of many stakeholders in the economy, is that for the sake of stability and for the sake of moderating inflation, cost of clearing cargo and all of that, we should have a quarterly review of the exchange rate for the computation of import duty. In other words, we can agree for maybe from January to March that the exchange rate to be used will be 1,000 naira to the dollar. Then that will remain. At the end of the quarter, these authorities can meet again to look at if there's a need to review it upwards or downwards. That will be done. I think that will bring a lot of comfort and reassurance to all the key players in the Nigerian economy. Because as it is too unstable for businesses to cope with. Apart from that, it's making the cost of imports extremely very expensive. Extremely very expensive. As at 1st of May, between 30th of April and 1st of May.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Muda Yusuf, for sharing your thoughts with us. Thank you, Doctor. I think we're pressed for time. We just have to leave it here. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us, Doctor.